Hello there, Commonwealth from here, and we can finally move over to the Gerudo region, Gerudo Valley. That tune, Joey, we're probably gonna get a new rendition of it.
I can't wait to hear how they do the music in this game, because it's got to be redone in some way. Gerudo Valley theme is just probably the most unique theme out of the bunch, I think.
Go with Epona. This area is supposed to be the last one, the one that you explore when you're an adult. This place is absolutely iconic, but I do feel like Gerudo Valley, if there's one part of the Gerudo region you're gonna expand, it's the valley.
There's so much they can do here, and we've especially seen how this place looks in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom with its shops and stuff. Plenty of room to add more tents, make it more of a lively place before you head to Gerudo's fortress.
You can still have the Master Craftsman and the boss of the Carpenters here, because they all went to Gerudo Fortress. And the same goes with the Running Man, who we hope we can finally beat in this remake, because it's not been possible. But since Epona is such an important part of exploring Gerudo Valley, I feel like you can take advantage of this horseback section. You can only use Epona up to Gerudo Fortress. You can't bring her out to the desert, or the Haunted Wasteland as it's also called, because we are getting to the fortress. And my question is, should it be the same? Because it is a quite chunky area. It's one of the biggest stealth areas we've had in the Zelda franchise to this point.
I don't know if it needs to be like the exact same as it was in the original game. You could make that case for a lot of parts about the original and what changes need to be made. A strength it could have is, and what every dungeon can have as well, I know this isn't a dungeon, but still, not needing loading screens between like sections, right? I think of the Yiga Clan hideout, like that's the closest thing I can think of in comparison to this. And the seamless transition between the outdoor and the indoor made it much smoother. And, you know, you could also just climb up rafters in there. Depends on the kind of freedom we're going to get in this remake. There's a lot of room to make this, I don't know, kind of like a Metal Gear Solid situation.
You modernize the place, you make it more, 2026. That also applies to the combat that you have with the Gerudo warriors inside of here, or swordswomen. Those are one of few face-to-face duels you get actually throughout Ocarina of Time, and I think there's a lot of potential here to turn these into even greater of spectacles, because they were already great back on the N64 and looking even sharper on the 3DS.
When we think about Zelda games, we don't really think about combat per se. Like, it still plays a big part in the game, but other than that, it's not very complex. Bosses have, standout weak points. I don't expect them to go like, this game is a Souls-like now, or we're not going to get anything as in-depth as that. If there's one thing to maybe Breath of the Wild-fy a bit, it's the combat in this game.
This is pretty much the second rescue mission you have in the game. The previous one we talked about was in the Fire Temple, where you had to save the Gorons from being eaten by a dragon. There are also some really iconic sections here where, if you're not careful enough, the guards women will come and throw you into the prison. I really hope that they keep some of it, but they also try to alter some other sections so that the Gerudo Fortress or the Thieves Hideout can feel fresh without loading screens, and also with a surprise here and there. The Thieves Hideout is pretty straightforward. Yes, there are those stealth sections. You have the combat sections with the Gerudo swordswomen. The great thing about the Gerudo is that, yes, they are first your enemies, but then as you gain respect from the chief, well, the replacement of the chief completely opens up afterwards. And that is one of the places Ocarina of Time really nailed. Here you have a very limited area at first, and then it becomes this truly open space, and you get even to do certain new challenges in the form of the Gerudo training ground.
That's where you get the ice arrows too at the end, right? And we talked a little bit about that in the last episode too. The ice arrows just feel like they should play a bigger role in this game. The question is though, should they still be here at the training grounds, or should you get the ice arrows sooner and maybe have a different reward at the end of this trial? And should the trial even stay the same? That's an even bigger question.
The thing about the Gerudo training ground is that it is optional. It's not something you need to complete to finish Ocarina of Time at all. That's why the ice arrows are pretty much the most useless item in the game, and focuses instead on the other area, the horseback archery range. It is fun to hit targets on horseback. Where they can change things is just altering what we know, but making it different, so that it is a challenge again. It's not something that will go on autopilot. One thing that is definitely going to change from the original, and already changed in the Ocarina of Time 3D, was the Gerudo crest. And there's no way that they're going to bring back the crescent moon symbol symbol. With the chanting in the Fire Temple as well, we know that was like Crusaders versus Islam. There's one thing Nintendo has left behind them, that is tying The Legend of Zelda to religion, and especially Christianity versus Islam. This is a true and original, in many ways, Gerudo Desert. Yes, we have had deserts, of course, in A Link to the Past. This is like the original full scope desert, where you had multiple different sections, even loading sections. The question is, should there even be loading between Gerudo Fortress and the Haunted Wasteland, or Gerudo Desert, as you also can call it?
I hope there's no loading at all in this game. If there is loading, I'll tolerate it's loading between dungeons, because they might have to fit in separately in their own way, but anything that's out in the open world should be all seamless, and the same goes for this. Like, if they managed to, in Breath and Tears, make the Lost Woods seamless, they could definitely do the Haunted Wasteland here, because the Haunted Wasteland is pretty much the same thing.
That begs the question, should it become more open though? Say the desert gets bigger, much like we've seen in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, and then you don't have to just follow a line or having the lens of truth to be navigated by the Poe to get finally to the Desert Colossus, because a desert offers a lot of possibilities. We already saw in Twilight Princess that they removed it, and in a way I felt like that was better and worse at the same time, because a desert is, let's be honest, a desert. It's empty. There's not so much there unless you put in a proper oasis. Yeah, like sure, you already have an oasis next to the Desert Colossus, or at least one that you can fill up. That's also one of the great things about Ocarina of Time, is the whole dynamic you have with the Song of Storms. Yes, you have these flagpoles sort of that show you the way and the direction, and you have that one little hut where you can collect, I think it's a gold sculpture, but I feel like the whole thing with a remake is that you have the opportunity to shake things up in the style of Master Quest, and since Master Quest might not be a separate thing here, why not combine the two? Because that's gonna throw us off a little bit here and there, but I also feel like, oh, I'm actually mastering this. I'm feeling like I'm not just playing Ocarina of Time again, I'm actually feeling some resistance and challenge. And that is something that should be present throughout the game, including across the Gerudo Desert or Haunted Wasteland. Yes, the Poe is iconic, leading you through all those levers coming up and so on, the few desert enemies you have. But I actually would have preferred to have a desert that is more sizable and that where we can explore different corners. In Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, you also had desert storms, where suddenly you had to struggle to navigate and find your way through the desert. I think that's the kind of mechanics that can be implemented and truly taken advantage of.
Like you said, shaking things up kind of Master Quest style, but like not too intensely. But you know, if they include Master Quest in this remake somehow, that's going to be even more interesting. But yeah, like making things different without making them like just a completely different game is totally the way to go here for this remake. At first I thought they should stick things more closer one-to-one, but the more we do this series, the more I realize that so much should be changed in order for it to appeal to a more modern audience, modernize some things.
It's all about creating an experience that is true to the original, but also enhances in an organic way. But yeah, you get Nehru's Love here. I think it's probably the least used power out of the goddess-themed ones. It doesn't really add much. It would have made sense if Ocarina of Time was a more difficult game. And that begs the question, Joe, should there be multiple difficulties here? Because we know that, yes, you have hard mode, but usually hard mode only unlocks at a later stage.
Yeah, I think that should happen here, for sure. Already unlock the hard mode right away. The only way I might see them not do that is if the combat system is very different this time. I definitely think if they do change the combat to be a little bit more like Breath of the Wild, including with its difficulty, they might hold off on giving the hard difficulty at the start. Although it's good to just give people that from the start, because how many of us play games twice in a row? At least if you're over the age of 30, probably not.
Yeah, and it's more respectful to just give them the option of choosing the difficulty because they want a more challenging experience. It's going to be a while until we get it. Still, the next open-air Zelda game, it's better to just let people play the game the way they want to do it, and with added challenge. And just like that, we have reached inside the Spirit Temple, where you can't do much as an adult at first, because you have to go out and meet up with Sheik, learn the Requiem of Spirit, which, by the way, beautiful tune. The music of this game can truly be next level if they pull it off correctly.
Yeah, it's a good song. It's just a good soundtrack all around, and I don't feel like they would go as far as to include the original maybe as an option, but I don't think they'll have like those, hearing those like low quality sounds in a game that looks like this would just kind of feel a little weird. So yeah, they're gonna have to come out with some really, really good remasters, and those can be tricky to pull off. So I really hope that they find a way to do it justice in this regard.
And with that in mind, you are forced to go back to the Temple of Time and return the Master Sword so that you can use and play the Requiem of Spirit to make your way back to the Desert Colossus and complete the first section of the Spirit Temple. But we'll get back to that in the next episode of Inside Ocarina of Time Remake, so be sure to leave a like, subscribe and press the notification bell to not miss that one. And of course, share all of your thoughts about the Gerudo region and its many attractions. Last but not least, a big thanks to you for watching and to all our patreon.com/comearound patrons, with special shoutouts to our heroes, Cheryl, Garrett Hoy, Holly Wolf and Gintaro. You rock, and please enjoy these awesome videos.